if you're a fan of drugs and guns, this is the video for you. This is about the president's son, Robert Hunter Biden, not Hunter Biden. I always thought his first name was Hunter until I actually read the indictment. Apparently, it's Robert. He's been charged with 3 charges in federal court. The prosecutions in the federal court are run by the Justice Department. As we all know, Joe Biden has weaponized the Department of Justice to go after his adversaries. And so, for example, he's going after his son here. He was being charged with 3 counts. So I'm going to take you off the beginning of the indictment and just shoot you to the end real quick to just kind of see. I'll blow this up so you can see the 3 counts just laid out tight, right? False statement in a purchase of a firearm, false statements and records that are kept by the firearm dealer, and then possession of the firearm unlawfully. So what were the false statement or false statements, and why was it unlawful? Well, it has to do with Hunter's drug use, right? And you fill out a form when you buy a gun. It's ATF form 4473. And this isn't the actual form that Hunter filled out. In fact, it's an updated version, but has the same question that's at the center of this case, okay? Are you an unlawful user of or addicted to marijuana or any depressant, stimulant, narcotic drug, or any other controlled substance? Okay, now, if you think about that question for a second, I want to say that would actually include caffeine, right? Are you an unlawful user of or addicted to any stimulant? If you go to the FDA's website, you'll see that caffeine is listed as a stimulant. Google caffeine, it's a stimulant drug. It affects the central nervous system. So that's just me being a cheeky lawyer, but I want to unlawyer this for you. So if you have an issue with drugs, first of all, a lot of addicts say, once an addict, always an addict, right? So is Hunter, let's say he hasn't done crack in a year, is he still addicted to it? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. But in this case, which looks pretty open shut, he was actively using when he went to get this firearm, and he was certainly using it when he was possessing the firearm, and that's where the possession charge comes in. And in fact, just today, his in-law testified that she actually had taken the gun away from him because she was so concerned about his drug use. So when he's going through this form and it asks him, are you using or addicted to basically illegal drugs? Pretty sure crack falls under there. It seems like a slam dunk case to me. You could win maybe at an appellate level by challenging the vagueness of this, right? Because again, there's things in here that we all could be addicted to. Another interesting question, right? Let's say you're a chronic, you have chronic injury, right? Chronic back pain or something, and or maybe even your end of life cancer, and you're taking OxyContin, and you are physically addicted to that drug. You're taking enough to where if you stopped, you would go through withdrawals. That is addiction, right? That's physical addiction. So would you have to give up your firearms then? Would you not be able to buy a firearm? According to this, and according to the Hunter Biden indictment, I would argue that you would not be able to buy a gun, and you would have to give up the guns. And I don't think that's what anyone wants. That's my legal opinion. And so going through the indictment, if you haven't seen one, this is kind of short by indictment standards, and it's very straightforward. It's saying he violated Chapter 4, Title 18 of the United States Code by certifying he was not an unlawful user of and addicted to narcotics, drugs, controlled substances, when in fact he knew that statement was false and fictitious. Count 2 is essentially the same as count 1. I don't really want to go into that and how the gun dealer needs to keep records. And then count 3 is the possession of the actual revolver. And this is kind of an interesting thing. If you really wanted to go into some weird rabbit hole of legal research, go type in interstate commerce and see how that affects the law. Like, why would a gun being transported in interstate commerce have anything to do with that? Well, in our Constitution, Congress actually has a lot of limited power to do what's called, to become like a police state, right? To kind of make these sort of like safety enforcement laws that kind of keep us all safe, or just have people behave the way we want them to behave. But if something affects interstate commerce, the Congress can regulate it. So if you ever experience a period of self-abuse and decide to go to law school, you'll take a class called Constitutional Law, and you will see all the mental gymnastics that are done to have things related to interstate commerce, even possessing a gun near a school zone. There are cases about how possessing a gun near a school zone affects interstate commerce, and that's why there can be federal laws against guns in school zones. But that's a tangent for another time. Let's look at what the type of time he's facing. Okay, the maximum penalty here on the first count is 10 years, count 2, 5, and count 3, 10. And that's where you're hearing Hunter's looking at 25 years. He's not looking at 25 years. For him to get 25 years, the judge, first of all, would have to give him the maximum on every single count, and then would have to run the sentences consecutively. So you'd serve this 10 years, then that 5 years, then that 10 years. That's exceedingly rare, especially on a first offense case where the crime is essentially one act, right? You're going to see the judge do what's called a concurrent sentence. So I would really say that yes, technically Hunter could get 25 years. I would bet my life that would not happen. The most that he really would, as a practical matter, be subjected to is a 10-year sentence, because the judge would do this all concurrently. Now again, he has no criminal history. This is a first offense. I think this might be some 200 IQ move by Hunter going down in flames to save his dad, because the whole narrative, as I was making jokes in the beginning about the weaponized Justice Department, wouldn't really make sense if Hunter gets found guilty in a federal case by the Justice Department that his dad is running, right? And he gets some prison time and goes and does it during an election year. How cool is that? If you thought this was interesting, if you have questions, I will answer them. Throw them in the comments.